To our council meeting, September 7, 2021. We're calling the meeting to order at 7:03 p.m. Please everybody stand for a Pledge of Allegiance. Ready, begin. Could everybody please remain standing for a moment of silence for first responders and military members. Thank you. Monica, could we get a roll call, please?
Roll call. Councilmember Soto?
Present.
Councilmember Moran?
Present.
Councilmember King?
Present.
Mayor Pro Tem Garcia? Mayor Aguilar?
Present.
For the record, Mayor Pro Tem Garcia is not in attendance, but his absence is excused.
For our closed session announcements, we gave direction to staff on the first item, and the second item will be going back into closed session after our regular meeting. Council, any changes to the agenda?
Yes, I do have some questions on a couple items on the consent agenda, number 5 and number 8. If we can pull those for those questions.
So we have 5 and 8. Any other items? So we're pulling those two for further questions, discussion under the consent agenda. Any other?
Can you repeat those numbers?
That's 5 and 8 under consent calendar, consent agenda. All right, no other changes. We're going to go ahead and move on to our citizen comments. This section of the agenda allows members of the public to address City Council on any item not otherwise on the agenda. Members of the public, when recognized by myself, should come forward and identify themselves. Comments are normally limited to 3 minutes in accordance with state open meeting laws. No action will be taken by the City Council this evening. For items which are on the agenda this evening, members of the public will provide an opportunity to address the City Council as each item is brought up for discussion. Any citizen comments?
Catherine Shell Rodriguez. Tonight I want to talk about some shenanigans that showed up in the agenda over the weekend. Specifically, the unsupportable and invalid social distancing requirement slapped onto the agenda. Why is it unsupportable and invalid? To start with, previous agendas have not had this requirement over the past few weeks. And that is since the state and the county lifted all local restrictions in mid-June. The social distancing requirement we did have prior to mid-June had been based on the state's health order and the county's health order and actions considered and ratified by the City Council in open session. As I mentioned earlier, the state and Merced County rescinded all local restrictions in mid-June. Checking the state website, covid19.ca.gov, safely reopening, which I did shortly before this meeting, we can see there are no county tiers, no capacity limits, no physical distancing requirements. In addition, there have been no recent agenda items about a new social distancing requirement to replace the ones lifted in June. Since the state isn't requiring us to social distance, and the county isn't requiring us to social distance, and there have been no recent resolutions about social distancing that have been adopted by the council, and you are not our employer, why did a social distancing requirement suddenly appear out of thin air and onto the agenda?
we're not enforcing it.
Yeah. Currently, there is an enforcement of the sex limit capacity for.
Then it needs
the
to come
public.
off the agenda.
We'll see what happens in the next few days with the state and consider that.
Mike Torres, 1669th Street. I'm here to find out that's why is it taking it so long to get this sidewalk and curb done here on Main Street and D Street, Main Street and D. It's been like that for months. Anybody know why it's not done?
I can provide. Good evening, Vanessa Portillo, interim city manager. The engineers were giving us a design and specifications for a sidewalk repair that it was going to have some continuity with the design that you see outside of the city hall. At this moment, we requested just a simple design, so the sidewalk is repaired, and we have received those designs, that specification, and it's going to be sent over to the contractors to be paved over and to be repaired. So we are expecting this to take place within the next 2 weeks.
But it's been taking that long.
100%, I understand.
Well, you know, that's where the kids come down walking from the high school.
Yeah,
That should have been the first priority than the other corners.
understood.
Now, another thing too is I want to know, I had talked to Mr. Hatch about this. Over there on Main Street and Kroll, on the other side of the city, there's a RV camper parked at the gas station. That's non-conforming.